Hey Time Slicers, welcome to Slice Squad Spills. I'm your host, Nikki Wildflower. I went from a basement apartment to a multiple seven-figure empire. Now I'm here to share how you can do it too. Hello, welcome to the Slice Squad Spills podcast. I am Nikki Wildflower, your host, and I'm here with my co-host and sister, Jackie. Yay.
Hello.
And today, we did take a week off last week. You know how we be.
Yeah, we'd be like that.
Sometimes I'm just like, I don't feel like it. And it's because like we have it, it's on like, it's in the middle of the week that we do this. And when I start off my weeks on Mondays, things feel really like positive and really exciting. And then by the time Wednesday comes, it's like a shit show. Which is
every week. Hard.
I still kind of love it, but it just happens really every week. But with that being said, like I'm in a great place. Like we're rock and rolling this week. I did a biathlon. Can you even believe
Nikki.
that?
So like I think in one of the episodes I recently asked you if you were still gonna do it, and you were like, I think I'm bailing on it. And she brought it back around and she came in 6th place.
I mean, in my little part of it, which was the people who backed out of the swim and did the other two things, and there were only 9 of us. But I did it, and that's like, and I had to wake up at 3:30 to go do that on Memorial Day weekend, and I don't really know.
That's a W.
Like, I don't know a lot of people that would. I know some people that would, but not like in my general circle. And I did try to back out on the day of. Like I texted my friend who I was doing it with, who really like helped me.
Sick.
I didn't even say that. I was just like, do we really like, if you don't feel like it, like if you just woke up this morning, I made it about them. I said, if you just woke up this morning and you and your heart were like, no,
I'm just not there.
I'm just saying I would support that. I'm not saying I feel the same way. I'm just saying I would be supportive. And she goes, no, Nikki, fuck that. I just made you coffee. I'm on my way. I did it. And I was just like really excited to get through it because I got there and people were like really serious. They were wearing like, onesies.
Oh, like the like bike/swim sort of ones? Like,
yeah. No. Some of them were running like before it even started. And I thought that was, yeah. I'm like, aren't we here to do that?
You're like, how are you going to warm up by running?
But the person that was doing that won by a lot.
So maybe we should follow suit, maybe.
I feel like I'm like that in other aspects of my life, just not in, the biathlon way. Like I'm always like the first person there practicing for every other thing, just not that. Now, here's the thing. I have heard like some sports players that are really good do that. Like they're just there and they're already like before the baseball game, they're already baseballing, even though everyone's like, you shouldn't do that. Save your energy. So there's something to that. I mean, when I tell you that this kid, and I'm going to say kid, he looked really young to me. I don't really know. But when I say he won, I mean, he fucking won. Like
by like an absolute landslide.
Let me just explain to you. I mean, this kid has to be like an Olympian or something like that because it was Michael Phelps. I'm pretty sure. He started the swim, finished the swim before, like long before anybody else. I want to say like at least like, it's not that long of a swim. It was like 500 meters. And at least he finished maybe 2 minutes before anybody else finished, which is a long time in that scenario. Gets onto his bike. I literally got onto my bike like right after him. And by the time I came back from my bike ride, which I want to just tell you, I was really working hard. Like everything that these legs got, I put into that bike ride. And
yeah, I'm envisioning it.
By the time I came back from this bike ride, he was finished with his run. So he did a 7-mile bike ride and then a 3.5-mile run before I was even done with the 7-mile bike ride. I was just like, how can a human body do that? But anyway, it can, and it did.
It can do anything. That's the thing.
And that was his 2nd year in a row winning. So
there you go. Whoever you are, great job, guy.
Like, way to show up for yourself. So today, anyway, so I'm a queen. We're going to... I did queen shit.
Yeah, you did. I kept trying to tell you, you were like downplaying yourself on it. I'm like, 1, you almost bailed. 2, you came in 6th place. You don't even have to say out of 9 people. Who cares? And Bring It On, the original. 2nd place feels like first.
No, honestly, I am downplaying it just because that's who I am as a person. But like, I'm I know that I know.
You did it. You went and did a biathlon. Who wants to wake up at 3 in the morning, really, and go on a 7 mile bike ride and then a 3.5 mile run? Nobody.
Can I just tell you that afterwards I ate a pancake taco and then I bought $130 worth of cheese from a luxury cheese shop.
How are the cheeses?
They smell, but they're really good. Like I've never tasted anything like it, but they're very stinky.
Yeah, all the best cheese is rotten
Okay.
and moldy.
It
Yeah.
smells. I still have some in the fridge, and my whole fridge smells rotten right now.
What are we talking about in today's episode?
Not cheese. Not honestly. We're talking about really how to unlock your full potential and like overcome self doubt because it's a pretty common challenge that holds a lot of people back, and it used to hold me back a lot too, even just like the stories that I was telling myself. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Another thing that you might call it is limiting beliefs, which I don't like. Really, I just like don't like saying it. I feel like it's overplayed. I even think that self-doubt is overplayed, but like the shit that's holding you back, let's just not do it anymore. Like there's a way to stop that from happening, and we're going to give you practical advice on how to stop that and move forward in your life.
I would actually say that like the majority of you were like, what kind of holds some people back? It's like what holds actually almost everybody back, like are the stories that we tell ourselves and our belief system.
It's like sometimes it's not even conscious, it's more subconscious. But
Yeah, it is.
to me, like, and I'm curious about what it means to you, but for me, self doubt is just like lacking confidence in yourself and your abilities, and insecurities, uncertainties, the fear of failure.
I guess those sort of stories and like self-doubt are subconscious thoughts that are there to protect us from things like failure. They are stories that have protected us in the past. This is like my take on it. Stories or belief systems that have protected us or were useful maybe in the past, or that we like that our subconscious held on to because of a hurtful situation or because of a failure, if you will, that linger in the brain.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that, because a lot of it does come from like it's our brain's way of protecting ourselves. And yet, a lot of times, the things that our brain is protecting us from that came from past experiences, it doesn't need to be protecting us from anymore. So, really, like all I believe comes from a place of fear of failure, fear of rejection, not being good enough. And they could be so deeply rooted and prevent us from taking any action at all because it's uncomfortable. And, we're protecting ourselves. We think we're protecting ourselves, but really, like, our brain doesn't always work in our favor anymore because it's like a survival machine, really, if you think about it. And it's there to keep us safe, but we're not like being chased after by bears anymore.
Mm-mm.
Most of the time, maybe if you got yourself in a weird situation, like this, that's why I don't
Maybe if
go.
you did like a biathlon randomly in the woods at like
Yeah.
3 a.m.
Yeah. That's why we don't go camping. But really, like, for the most part, we don't need that anymore. Really, like, and a lot of it also comes from just like negative experiences that you had in the past that really leave a lasting imprint and impression in your life. Like, Jackie, can you think of one, for example, that you maybe like held on to because of things that had happened in the past, or even maybe like things that people had said?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many different stories that like still linger in my brain, even like as small as I read, I think I've talked about this before, but like I read a book once about people born on July 29th, which is my birthday. And it literally said like, these people are not detail oriented. They are concept oriented. And this is the silliest. It's not even like a deep, vulnerable one. It's just like I attached to that thought and made it a reality. And it's actually not true for me. Like I am very detail oriented, but I kept saying out loud, or someone's told me like, oh, you're so chaotic. Like there's always chaos going on around you. And now like I find myself still to this day, almost like chasing that belief or like telling myself that story or saying it out loud after I had a long day, like, oh, always chaos. I'm just the chaos queen over here. My life is always chaotic. And it's like, whose story is that? My life's pretty freaking awesome. I mean, there has been a lot of chaos. Yes. But that doesn't have to be like my reality or like an actual true statement that I am the chaos queen. Like I'm not. What about you?
Well, for me, I would say like being somebody who had a lot of like learning disabilities growing up, I think that and also just was really impulsive and constantly had that like thrown in my face that you're the wild one, like you're impulsive, you make bad choices, that kind of thing. I really clung to that and was like, I'm just hot mess girl. And it was almost like a way of protecting myself. Like, no, this is just me. I'm a fucking hot mess. Who cares? You know?
If I own it, then
If I own it, then it can't hurt me. And that actually like really prevented me from doing things in my career because I was hot mess girl or because I felt nobody took me seriously. That really stopped me from making a lot of moves in my life or even thinking that I'm like not good enough for people or smart enough for people. Like there was a time where I was dating somebody who was like an academic and I just felt like a fucking loser because in my head, I wasn't smart. I'm like, I'm not smart. This person is so much smarter than me. They've got a serious job. I just do hair. And like, there was almost like this bit of embarrassment about it and really like fueled by insecurity. I've obviously come a long way. Like, I think I'm fucking brilliant.
well, honestly, so like, let's talk about this. We both were children who had ADHD who were not properly diagnosed because the diagnosis, like the system, right, was not made for like little girls who have ADHD. Like the testing, actually, they just started testing on girls and women, I believe. And please, I'm not a scientist, but I'm almost positive it was 2017. So like we were not set up for success in the traditional, we were actually set up for failure in the traditional school setting. I always felt dumb. I'm like, I just don't get it. Like I learned how to actually like problem solve and pass my classes and do like fine to get by. But I always was like, I don't understand. I'm like, why do I have to like look at the person's test next to me and cheat
Oh
or
my God.
like
I
figure
cheated
something
so
out?
bad all the time.
um, yeah, like I felt so stupid. And then I went on to be a massage therapist and I felt the same way. I'm like, oh, I'm just a massage therapist. I'm embarrassed. I didn't even want to tell people that that was my job, which is so sad. Because now I'm like, oh, I own that shit. That was one of the smartest decisions to go to a trade school right out of high school. I started like earning a living at 20. I started my own business at 20. So like the stories they still linger because now like the first thing I want to say is like, yes, I work in business consulting as the president of the company. And it's like, who, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that comes from this weird status. Like, I want to be smart and I want everyone to take
I
me
want to be seen as
seriously.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like I overcame that like a while. All right. So when I first like started this, I felt like I really had something to like the consulting and stuff. There was still something in me that felt like I maybe had something to prove. And now it's so funny. Like when people are like, what do you do? I'm just like, I do hair. And Allison's like, what the fuck? You do hair? Like it's a little bit more complex than that. I'm like, who cares? I'm like, I don't even know this person. Why do I care? So that's like what I do now. And it just like that comes from a like true place of being comfortable and not feeling like you have anything to prove to anybody. And honestly, like I only got there recently where I'm just like, whatever, I don't really care. Like I'm good. I don't really need you to I don't need to act like I'm smart or anything like that. I am smart. That's not what I mean. But I want to say this. Have you ever like I got really inquisitive one time with mom and I was like, so, when I was in school and like I had to go to that special room that like no one else had to go to, what do you feel like prompted that? And she's like, I don't she's like I'm like what did they say to you about why? And she's like, "Oh, you had some kind of like a learning disability." And I'm like,
I can't.
and I was like, okay, well, what does that mean? And she's like, they're just a learning disability. That's what they said. And I was like, so no further inquiries after that, just vibes.
Just
She's like,
vibes. No
she's like,
doctor's appointment, just vibes.
she's like, she's like, yeah, I guess so.
Oh my God. I forgot you. So you got like extra time for math, right?
I had to like, yeah. So like all in elementary school, I had to like leave the room and go to a separate room for
I
just
remember.
math, just math. Like English wasn't hard for me. It's weird. I found out as an adult that like I'm dyslexic. I read everything backwards, but I think my brain just like, and I type everything backwards and write everything backwards. it just, my brain like compensated over time and figured that out. So I didn't really have a hard time with that. And especially with my creativity, I was really able to write pretty easily. But math, like, forget it. Anything math or science was really hard for me. So whatever, it doesn't matter. I just wanted to, that was a little segue into a different conversation. But listen, like, there are going to be, like, I'm sure that you've had experiences in your life where you've felt like humiliated, inadequate. And those memories kind of have this tendency to like pop up and resurface anytime that you're really faced with some kind of a similar challenge or something that's relatable to that challenge. And that's what we're here to help you break through today.
Yeah, there are tools, practical tools and skills that you can develop to test the validity of the thoughts that are coming up as you're experiencing them. I just like want to remind whoever is listening to this that we have how many thoughts per day? Like millions or something like that. Millions of thoughts per day. Something out of control. Like any of them we can attach to. And any of them we can question, right? So like we have, it is our brain, our subconscious, like we have the control if we can familiarize ourselves with these patterns of thinking and as the thoughts are coming up, we can build this sort of like resilience around like, oh, I even just recognizing, oh, I had one of those thoughts, so crazy, silly. Like I have the most ridiculous thoughts throughout the day sometimes. Like everyone hates me. Like for what? No one said anything about hating me.
I started saying the story I'm telling myself is that everyone hates me.
Yeah.
Like I started saying that, and then I'm like, it's probably just a story. But a lot of these things are so like deep seated, formed in childhood, even. Like if you were told repeatedly that you're not good at something, that you can't do something, that you're not good at this, you're not good at that, even like that money doesn't grow on trees, things like that. You kind of have this tendency, it's just our brain, it's the way that it is. Like that happens at a really, really young age. And so it's our parents' fault, not ours.
I didn't ask to be born and I didn't ask for you to plant these ridiculous thoughts into my head. Thank you. I'm kidding.
Yeah. And then you kind of like internalize them, but you're not stuck there. Here's the thing. So like once you're able to really recognize what those are, because I remember when I went through cognitive behavioral therapy and I used to get really, because I also have obsessive compulsive disorder. Yeah. The cards are really working in my favor.
It's like, drop another one on us, please.
Yeah.
I'm not actually making fun of you. Just like being
No,
silly.
I know. And I'm still here. But I remember when we would do this sort of like mindfulness activity where we would watch our thoughts sort of like float by on a log. And I was like, wow, why am I only attaching to certain ones? Like there's a lot of hoobity boobity in there that's coming to surface. Like the weird, like the weirdest shit. And I wouldn't even like think about it or attach to it. I'm like, people just think like fucked up shit all the time. And then like you only attach to certain things. But anyway, once we recognize what those beliefs are that are kind of deep seated, even like that, I live in a small town and like I can't be successful because of that is also even a form of a limiting belief. Once you know what they are and understand their origins and where they came from, and I'm not saying you really have to like dive in there and understand where they came from, but at least knowing what they are is one of the steps to changing them and challenging them. So they can really act as the filter that you view the world. Like they really distort your perception of your ability and your potential and makes it really, really difficult to see opportunities for growth.
100% there. So like in terms of step one, like really just being able to witness or hear the thoughts that come up. That's literally step one, right? So you have a bad week. You're a business owner. You have a bad week. A thought that comes up is like, you know what? I knew it. Like I knew that this was going to happen. I knew I would fail. And like, it's just going downhill. Like I should quit, like that sort of an extreme thought, because obviously if you've been in business for years and like consistently you've done well and you just had one bad week, it's a week, and probably rationally and logically you might know that. But that sort of thought with the extreme, like I should quit, I knew this would happen, like it still might come up. Has that ever come up for you? Like you run and operate and own multiple businesses. Have you ever like been like, you know what? I knew it. It's over.
Yeah.
I'm going to nursing school.
Yeah. And it's so funny because like I get on the phone with our consulting clients all the time, and they have like this thing where they're just, and a lot of them have this thing where they're like, I wish I was you because you probably don't have like a fuck in the world to give. Like, you know that you're, I'm like, what? I'm like, literally every day I'm scared shitless. So I'm just like, I have these thoughts like anybody else, like, oh, what if this happens? What if this happens? Like, it doesn't go away. You know what I
Mm-mm.
mean? It's just like, we'll talk about that. But it's just for me, like, those thoughts come up all the time. And I even have my moments where I like sit with them and I like wallow in them. And at the end of the day, like, I'm able to tell myself, you know exactly what you want out of life and where you're going. And no matter what your brain is telling you, you will not fail if you continue to just push forward. So like I know that. But really when you have those thoughts that keep coming up, it's just gonna keep you from like acting and you're gonna miss a lot of opportunities and remain stagnant because you're scared, basically.
100%. We'll always remember our brain subconsciously is going to protect us. And so these thoughts, again, maybe they're patterns from our childhood, they're always going to come up. So no matter what level of success, I bet the Kardashians have these, well, not I bet, I know, because we're all human beings. Like they absolutely, just because they've reached a level of fame and wealth, doesn't mean that they don't also not believe in themselves sometimes. You know what I mean?
Tim's like,
So,
what if I stop being a billionaire and I just am only worth 300 million? What a disaster. Okay.
I want to talk about a helpful tool that my therapist taught me about the beliefs. So you're the driver of the bus. You're driving a bus behind you. All of your thoughts, just all of your thoughts are behind you. You're like in the middle. You're like, you're trying to get to where you're going. You're like, you know what? You make the decision, like, I'm making a scary choice and I'm going to take a leap of faith. I'm going to do this thing. And you're driving that bus and you're ready to go. And then, like, little Mr. Anxiety behind you, little Mr. Limiting Belief walks up behind you while you're driving, taps you on the shoulder, and is like, hey, you're going to fail. You're going to crash. It's going to burn. We have to turn back, right? You're driving this bus. And then anxiety comes and you have the choice in that moment to turn around, stop the bus, pull it over, turn around and talk to, right, Mr. Anxiety. Or you could send Mr. Anxiety back to a seat. Thank you for your concern. I hear you. Thank you for your concern. I'm going to keep driving forward. I've got this. Can you please have a seat? Or see yourself off the bus. No, I'm just kidding. But so like envision yourself as the driver and all of these thoughts that are coming up, it's just like a little distraction. You can give it some notice. You know what? Thank you. I know that you've protected me in the past. And like, I'm all good right now. And I know that it sounds like a childish, like sort of exercise, but it really helped me. And it is because we are all like adult babies at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm an infant
So
for sure.
yeah, like try the bus driving exercise, whatever.
Yeah. You could even have a journal. I mean, I love a journal and just well, I like to write. I worked really hard on my penmanship after all those years and I like to write. So I do. And it's
Wait,
beautiful.
really quick. Nikki told me that my handwriting is a 1 out of 10 on a regular adult scale. And I feel like that is the harshest judgment
I was
in the
being
world.
generous. It's really,
We're
it's
going to
not,
have to wait. Can we get a picture of my handwriting? Like, oh, I'll
it's
write
really,
something else.
it's really not good though. You have to admit that. Like, it's like you're not doing it with love when you write.
No, I don't
It's
like
like,
writing.
and you could just tell when someone's not doing it with love. Maybe it's because you're a lefty and it feels like really hard for a lefty to write. In my opinion, I'm not a lefty, but it just feels like life might be a little harder for lefties than the rest of us.
Yeah, you get like ink on your hand.
Yeah.
You're just dragging. Anyway, go on about your journal exercise.
Yeah. So like you write down when they come up, you write down like, okay, so I live in a small town. I'm not going to be successful. Like just take the time, even if you're listening to this, maybe you're in a place where you can pause it and think about the ones in your life that those self-doubts that might be holding you back. Some of mine were like, I'm not good at relationships. And that, that just came in time. I'm a mess. I am not smart. I'm just a hairdresser. I'm not good at I'm not good at social media. Like I hear that one all the time. Like, of course you're not fucking good at it. You don't do it. Like, when are you gonna just show up and be good at something that you've never done in your life? Like, when's the first time you tried to part somebody's hair down the middle? Like, were you good at it? Probably not. I mean, you didn't even know how to walk at one point.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So like, and then list those out and then challenge them and really reframe them. So like, is this valid? Is there any evidence to support this? Who told me this? Is this just a story I'm telling myself? A lot of times they're really exaggerated and unfounded. And then I will write with, I will like literally write next to it. I've done this so many times. I will write, and it sounds corny, but like I don't give a shit. This stuff works. So replace that negative thought with a positive affirmation. So like cross it out and write, instead of like I'm not that good at what I do, you cross it out and write like I have unique strengths and abilities in this career that nobody else has. Instead of I live in a small town so I won't be successful, cross that out and say I live in a small town and I can be the most successful stylist here. I live in a small town and I'm super successful in what I do. And now over time, when you start doing that, you start to like and start acting as, you're able to take that evidence from your past successes and reinforce those. And it just constantly like reinforces over time and reminding yourself that you were able to overcome those challenges and succeed. So it's really like actively just finding those thoughts of what they are, those patterns that you have, and actively disputing them will help with that shift, right?
And then creating, like, I think that innately will create new neural pathways as you continue. So, like, the level of those subconscious limiting belief sort of thoughts coming up, when you challenge them in this way, time and time again, and kind of like prove it wrong, naturally, it would make sense to me that, like, it would rewire some things and send those thoughts maybe out of your subconscious, or like maybe not forever, right? But like they're not as loud, because the ones that are louder are the ones that are valid, because you've done this sort of rework. I mean, I don't know. This is just
I'm like, I don't
my
know.
idea.
I'm
You're
like, I
like,
don't know
sounds
shit.
good.
I'm like, I don't know shit about neural pathways, but I'm convinced. But just nobody take what she just said as fact because she's talking out of her ass. It sounds right though.
Nothing that
So
it's just an idea. Like, it's an idea. The other thing that you can do, even just like, so I personally, I have a really hard time journaling or even doing like a writing exercise. Yeah, my handwriting sucks. And no, I don't want to be writing. I like to type, I like to speak, and I like to like visualize. So like the bus thing works well for me. But another one that's really similar to the one that Nikki just spoke into on like writing without actually writing is like you hear the thought, you witness it, you're like, oh, there one comes. Cross it out and reframe it, like speak it out loud, the positive shift on it. Or I always really like whose voice is that? You know, when I'm like, am I the worst person on planet Earth? Like, do
well,
I
it's
just
so true.
like
And
whose voice is that?
you have to be, when you're actively working toward making your life better, you have to be so careful about what you're letting into your world and who you're letting into your world. And I'm not saying like we don't hang out with people who have limiting beliefs, but like I super limit that stuff. Like you have to make sure that you are in, you know what, fuck it. Like you, no, sometimes you can't get away from those people. But like, let's say that there's somebody that you work with that like hangs out in the break room and is just like, well, the economy sucks. So right now it's just been really, really slow. Lately, it has been really slow, and it's
And
just,
we're all slow.
and
Everyone in this town is slow.
and people aren't spending money on this anymore. It's not true, you guys. Like, yeah, yes, the economy is not great. We know that. And there are people that are doing this in small towns, making multiple six figures. So obviously it's not true. But if you think that that shit's not going to seep into your head, it will. So, and also you need to be careful when you are going out there and asking advice from people and seeking support and seeking out. Who are you seeking that from? You're not going to take advice or let those things seep into your life from somebody who you don't want to emulate. That's like something that I stopped doing because I would let a lot of like people's noise in, and it actually really affected me. Like that exposure to those people who had such like were so ingrained in their own limiting thoughts really affected my ability to take action. And actually I would almost get comfortable living there. Like, yeah, it's the economy. We're all slow right now. Misery loves company, right? Like, but
100%.
I see it happen all the time. I see it happen all the time. Like, you know how when there's a new record set in something, like let's say like for the longest time for 12 years, somebody's running record was this much. Then one person breaks that record and so many people after them are able to do it all of a sudden. So how powerful do you think our minds are that the people we constantly surround ourselves with are not going to seep into our head? They are.
They do. And they will. Like, If one thing is for sure, it's that especially people who, when you go and make a scary decision, or like you're considering making a scary decision that most people would not make. Here's actually the thing. I would say what sets people who are self-made millionaires, right? Or even just millionaires in general apart. Let's do self-made. I like it better. From anybody else. Literally nothing. They just go and make a decision that's different than the stat. Like they take action and practical skills, knowledge, information, but like they take the first step and then they keep going and they keep going. And even if they're afraid to fail, or they do, they learn from it and they keep going because they've got their eyes set on the mission. They're like, this is what I'm doing, point blank, period. They're not asking for advice from Betty, who has been complaining about the career she's been in for 35 years. All due respect to Betty. Like not everybody is made to be a self-made millionaire. Anyone can be, that's the thing, but it's not for everyone. It does take a lot of trial, tribulation, discomfort,
Well,
like
there's a
doing
shit ton
scary
of
shit.
as a self-made millionaire, I will say that like there's a lot of sacrifice, and I'm not complaining. Like I'm so grateful for what I have, but the amount that I've had to sacrifice, the comfort that I've had to sacrifice, the time that I've had to sacrifice, the just like shit being thrown in my face all the time, I could see that not everybody would want that, and that's totally cool. But you can still, you don't have to be like a millionaire to be successful. And the other thing is that something about me and how I even got here to begin with is like the first time I invested in a mentor, like I knew that I was about to drop 10 grand that I didn't fucking have on this mentor. And I knew that if I went and told somebody else about it, or even like asked somebody else's advice that has never done anything, I didn't ask anybody's advice. I just fucking did it. And then I told everyone after. But I'm just like, I'm not really interested in feedback. You'll hear that shit come out of my mouth all the time. Like when I make a decision that most people would be terrified to make, I'd be like, this is what I did. I'm not interested in feedback. I say it to you all the time, Jackie.
You do, because like what is the pattern? You said it earlier today, like the pattern that people have put onto you, the story, right, is like you're impulsive. You're impulsive and you're doing another impulsive thing, like it's a bad thing. Yeah, sometimes you are impulsive and you've made the most brilliant impulsive decisions that 99% of humans wouldn't make, and it's propelled you to where you are now. So you don't need other people's unsolicited advice. You can ask advice if you want, but ask it from someone who actually understands or has been there, right? I like when you say, I'm not looking for it.
And sometimes I make impulsive decisions, even as a business owner, and they're the wrong decision. But I'm willing to live with that. Like, I'm just like, yeah, I fucked up, whatever. Like, it's okay. It's okay. Like, I'm going to keep going. Each step that you actually like take, action is what battles self-doubt, limiting beliefs. At the end of the day, it's all action. You could write all the positive affirmations in the freaking world, and that's not going to do shit for you if you don't take action. So you have to really, the main thing here that's really going to move your life forward is to embrace that discomfort and really just take steps toward your goals. Like, even if you feel uncertain, because you will. And then each forward step is going to build that momentum and that confidence. And the more you take action and keep taking action, the more you prove to yourself that you are capable, even when you feel the fear. And that's going to help build your resilience, really. You can overcome those challenges. And then you just continue to learn and to grow and continue to commit to that learning and that growth. And you're really capable of so much more than you're even aware of, you know?
We like get to shape our reality. Like, dude, we are all perceiving and projecting. We're just a product of our own life experience. And we can either take that, let it stick, and just live in that, or we can be like, you know what? What's that all? What was that thought all about? Like, what box have I put myself in? And why? And like, what would happen? Like, just what would happen if I just did something different? Like, just what would happen? Just curious. I like curious to know, and just see, like, as you continue, because again, it's not like Nikki shared, like, it's not always going to be like propelling forward and working towards your fullest potential. It's not always going to be like, I proved myself that I could do that. It's like, I proved myself And like, that's it. And I did it. And now I made this $1 million. It's not always going to be that. It's going to be, well, I tried that. Right. And
I tried
that one
that.
didn't land. So like, I know I could try it. It didn't land. And maybe I cried, like maybe it was like a really not that small of a deal, but I learned and I kept going and I tried something different. And then I tried something different. And this is how resilience really is built. Like resilience of, well, now I know, like 2-3 years later, after all of these trials and tribulations and like going through really hard points of this and going through really positive points of this, that I've built up skills and tools and I'm going to be okay. I can keep moving forward. I'm going to be okay. And the more that you allow yourself through the fear, through the discomfort, move with it, the more you're going to prove to yourself, like, you know what, it wasn't that fucking bad, actually.
That's it. That's it. Figuring out what those are, being self-aware and being like, okay, that really doesn't mean shit at the end of the day is what's going to bring you to that next level in your life and your career and help you really overcome that self-doubt. I hope that you found a lot of value in this episode and that it really like seeps in and actually you really take this and like use it to fuel you forward. If you did find value, it wouldn't make sense not to subscribe.
Subscribe, share, rate, review.
Share it with your friends. Leave a review if it's positive. Join our community. I have a Facebook group. We would love to have you in there for more support. I will link the Facebook group down there. You could always book a call with our team. Those initial calls are complimentary. You should be in the service industry. I will say that. So whether as a hairstylist, a esthetician, massage therapist, makeup,
tech, nail tech, tattoo, all the things.
And that general thing, like we work on people. We got you. Not even necessarily, because you could also be like an artist of some form. Yeah. Well, we have been able to like copy paste people's success over and over again from industry to industry. And let me tell you how that overcomes the self-doubt.
Oh, yeah. Overcome the self-doubt with us. I could go on about this I have like 50,000 more thoughts, but I'll just make some social media posts about it. Maybe we'll link our IGs below. Okay, bye everyone.
Bye everybody. Have a great week. Thank you for listening to Slice Squad Spills. If you're enjoying the show, please subscribe, leave a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback is going to help us improve and attracts more listeners to the show. Please share with your fellow time slicers. And hey, if you're ready to optimize your time and double your income, we've got you covered.